Hi, welcome to the tutorial on iterative statements. By the end of this topic, you will be able to explain and implement iterative statements. Imagine that I ask you to print "machine learning is awesome" 1,000 times. How much time do you think it would take? Writing Python code "print machine learning is awesome" 1,000 times is a very tedious and boring process. Moreover, it makes the code look bulky, repetitive, and long. So what can we do about this? To counter this, Python provides us the looping constructs. Using these looping constructs, we can do a repetitive task in fewer lines of code. Let's look at the syntax of the looping constructs in Python. Here, iterable is a list containing some values. The values can be integers or strings, etc. Start, stop, and step are three values which we need to specify in order to control the loop. We will look at them in action shortly. Now, I is a variable that takes the value contained in the iterable in a sequential manner and then enters the body of the loop construct. Now let's see the loops in action by printing "machine learning is awesome" using the syntax we have discussed. But we still need an iterable so that a looping construct can run on it. For that purpose, we will use the range functions. Range function is used to make iterable list of integer numbers between the start and stop values. So let's use that to print "machine learning is awesome" 1,000 times. The code definitely looks clean and concise. You can also note that we are mentioning the start and stop values in the range function. You should note that we are starting the range from 0 and not 1. This is because for a given range, Python starts with start value and runs until stop value -1. Also, the default step value is 1. Now, let's play around the start, stop, and step values. Consider that we set our starting value to be 975 and run the cell. In this case, the output is printed 25 times. Again, please remember that Python loop runs till stop value -1, which means I would take value from 975 to 999 and hence the output is printed 25 times. Now, consider what happens when we set start value as 0, stop value as 1000 and step value as 200. Can you guess what will happen? Let's find out. We can clearly see that the output was printed only 5 times because the step value assigns every 200th value of the iterables to I. Accordingly, I takes the value of 0, 200, 400, 600 and 800 and the statement gets printed 5 times. It does not take the value of 1000 because Python loops run till stop -1. We will be looking at different forms of the iterables as we progress through the training. You should note that the loops are not only meant for printing the elements of any iterable. We can also use them to implement a logic which has to be repeated over and over again. A simple example would be to calculate the factorial of a number. Let's look at an example of loop construct to calculate the factorial of 10. Here, the variable I takes the value from 1 to 10. During every iteration, the value of variable fact is updated as the product of the fact and the current value of I. When the variable I traverses through all the iterables, the final result in the fact variable is the required result. So, we saw how loops are used and we even saw an example of implementing a simple factorial logic using the concept of iterative statements. Please note that the terms loop and iterative statements can be used interchangeably and mean the same thing. So that's it for this session. In the next tutorial, we will discuss functions. See you then.